for Wednesday, the 1st of March. I'm Stephen Ridgway. There's a report that iPhone users are being targeted for phone theft. It's a variation on a very traditional phone theft. Of you meet some people in a bar, they distract you, they nick your phone. Well, the phone itself doesn't seem to be the primary target here. Latest version of this scam is that these new friends that you meet in the bar will wait until you unlock your phone, and then will record or remember your passcode, nick your phone, unlock your phone, and then they have access to a vast amount of your stuff. It is just worth bearing in mind that once you have somebody's passcode, other things like Face ID and Touch ID can be disabled. So once you're into the phone, it does make the phone quite vulnerable. Recommendation is if you're going to be typing in a passcode, cover your screen in public, kind of obvious. Make the passcode a strong passcode, and then add protection to various apps. So it may be possible, say, for your banking app, to enforce that using, say, Face ID or Touch ID or something, regardless of whether the phone is locked or unlocked with that or not. And you can also use third-party password managers that offer biometric authentications. One thing which is recommended in this article, which is I think quite a good one, is to think about whether you have photographs of important documents sat in your photo apps, things like passports, driving licenses, bank statements, other things that have got PII in them. If you need to keep that stuff on your phone, probably better to put it into a third-party password manager, most of which can securely store certain sorts of documents. Now, so I just want to be aware of, and sometimes we get so swept up in the it's all digital that we forget that there are actual physical attacks that people suffer from as well. So yeah, something to think about. Excuse me. The antivirus company Bitdefender has released a free decryptor for a recently discovered ransomware family called Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat doesn't sound like it's a particularly sophisticated piece of ransomware. It doesn't do things like delete shadow copies or whatever. It just kind of basically messes with your Windows devices to make them unusable. So there is now a tool released by Bitdefender. You can download it from via a link on the article that will link to this briefing. So if you've been hit by that, this is a little bit of good news. It should then at least help for the moment to alleviate the problems that you may be having. Apparently the decryptor works on all versions, including the latest release, as it were, of Mortal Kombat, but expect updates to Mortal Kombat in the future once the attackers realize that they're not getting any money out of it. Gmail has released client-side encryption to the public. So if you've got Google Workspace Enterprise Plus, Education Plus, or Education Standard accounts with Google, Gmail can now be encrypted on the client side. It is not quite the same as true end-to-end encryption. It is possible that the keys that are used for this could be available to Google administrators. However, it does mean that if you're sending emails within the Google environment, you should be able to encrypt them, and that's certainly is it'll be a better than nothing defense against eavesdroppers into your email environments, bearing in mind that stuff moving around Gmail ostensibly should be within the Gmail environment. What you're really trying to do is protect yourself against people who've got access to see that stuff inside there anyway, because if you're using certainly if you're using web apps for Gmail, they're all over HTTPS anyway. So the across the internet piece isn't so much of the issue. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure how this will work outside of Gmail. Possibly, I don't know. I'll have to do some digging into that. But definitely, you can now turn on additional encryption, and then you can effectively it gets enabled for your organization, and then you can tick the box, as it were, next to the recipient to provide this additional layer of encryption. So step in the right direction, hopefully is useful, needs a little bit more digging, I think. And then finally from me, I came across quite an interesting article in the InfoSecurity magazine website. There has been some research looking at the UK capital's susceptibility to cyber attacks. There has been an insurance company that has set up a series of honeypots in combination with the Cyber Resilience Centre for London, which is a police non-for-profit organisation. They have recorded 91 million threats over a 28-day period in January. So the study recorded approximately 2,000 attacks per minute targeting the honeypot, and about 85% of those are attempting to hijack remote desktop connections used by employees working outside the office. So that is useful information, I think, if you have moved your organization to a work from home or a work from anywhere remote working type environment. If you needed a reminder that your remote access systems should be well protected, I think this is it. So I guess we're talking about here things like Microsoft's RDP, VNC. There are various other sort of tools that are out there. Make sure that stuff is well protected. Keep it well patched. Where possible, access it only through a VPN, the usual sorts of stuff. Make sure that you have strong authentication on any accounts which are accessible. Just think it through and make sure that you've put in place safeguards that address or mitigate the real world risks. Bearing in mind that something like 99.8% of businesses across the UK capital are small and medium enterprises, it is entirely possible that they don't have the budgets or the know-how to do very sophisticated things. So this is going to be less of a problem for the big major financials, because they have the budgets and the time, effort, and teams to be able to put in place some really very sophisticated protections around this sort of stuff. However, that isn't the majority of organizations in the UK. SMEs make up a lot of those. So, if you're in an SME and you want advice, have a look into what's available on the internet, or make sure that you're talking to people that can give you some pointers around where your weaknesses may be and things that you can do about it. Well, that's all from me for today. I hope you have a great day, and I will speak to you again tomorrow morning.